episode number 2 of Selling the Country podcast. So I hope everybody was able to watch the first one, and we're on to number 2. And we thought, last time we sort of rambled along a whole lot, Uncle Sam. Were you able to watch
I'm sorry to say I haven't been. I'll have to do that.
So you have no clue what to expect today?
No, none.
None. Okay, good. That's the way we want it. We want the surprise. So some of the things that we talked about in the last podcast are some of the upcoming auctions. We've got a lot of good farms coming up. You want to tell us? I know this past weekend, Jeff Cromer had a wonderful auction. What was it, like 96, 97 acres?
That's correct, 96.9. So I said, I'll say 97 acres, right.
And it brought right at $10,000 an acre, $960,000.
$960,000, some odd dollars, yes.
A wonderful crowd. I know a lot of auctions coming up. This weekend we're down in Monticello. We got a bunch of farm equipment, a great commercial track down there. In the Somerset market, we have got 2 or 3 really good farms coming up. We have one out on 3400 Westridge Road, about 135 acres, about as good of a farm as you'll find. Then we've got on 635, David Reynolds booked about 35 acres. Ed Purvis has maybe got one of the better farms we've seen in a long time coming up. Uncle Sam, the Day Farm, you've got that coming up too, don't you?
That's coming up on April the 11th, and it's near Crab Orchard. It's on Jones Highway 150 between Crab Orchard and Stanford, and it's a beautiful farm. If you go by that farm, you may not be impressed, but when you drive up on that farm, oh, it's a beauty. And it's going to be selling in 2 tracks. There's 175 acres total. I can't remember the breakdown on the tracks right now, but it's a good farm. It's a farmer's farm.
We've also just finished up a lot of gun auctions. I think Mike Broughton brought about 400 guns in. We're breaking them into about 3 or 4 different auctions. So it seems like spring auction season's here, isn't it?
It's here.
Yeah.
Every winter, January and February, things slow down a little bit. But this February was good, and now we're rolling. I've got a farm too I want to tell you about, Matt, over in Mercer County, 60 acres of prime farmland. It's beautiful. It's on Kirkwood Road. It's out in the little community of Salvasa, Kentucky, and northern Mercer County, right close to the Anderson County line. But it's there's no buildings. You'll be able to suit yourself. I say no buildings. That's incorrect. There is a barn, and that's the only building on it. It's got a pond. Actually, the surveyor called it a lake. I don't know all the difference between a lake and a pond, but it's a nice body of water.
Nice. So you seem pretty excited about auction season, aren't you?
I am excited. I always get excited in the spring of the year. It's a good, when the leaves start budding and the grass starts getting green, my attitude's better. And I think a lot of people's attitudes are better at that time. And so when the auctions start coming, it just kind of rejuvenates me, gets me going.
I notice your attitude's a whole lot better.
It probably could still stand some improvement.
Maybe Dad would say that. Doing these podcasts, I told him I may do some fun stories on you and Dad. You and Dad are much like Brian and Alex. You all will pick on each other, but you won't let somebody else pick on the other one.
Oh yeah, that's the way we are. That's the way brothers, I guess, are supposed to be. We're like 2 little kids.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was getting at.
Danny and I are sometimes the way I try to tell him to do something. He tells me this is not his first rodeo, so I back off. And then, but when I like to tell him, I told you so, and he likes to tell me that too. So but we get along. We get along good.
True brotherly love, right?
True brotherly love, I guess you call it.
Some of this podcast, we talk about stories. One of the things I think people would be interested in knowing, how did you become an auctioneer? What got you involved in it?
Well, I hadn't really planned on it. I was in college at Eastern, and I was going through ROTC. I knew I was going to have to go to the Army as soon as I graduated, and I did. Well, it's 1966 is when I had my first auction.
And what was it?
The first auction I ever did was a bunch of cows.
Bunch of cattle?
Yeah, and Holstein cattle. And I didn't know the front end from the back end at that time of a cow. But it was a master commissioner sale, and the master commissioner of Rockcastle County had never sold cattle. He found out that I'd been to auction school, wanted to know if I wanted to sell those cows. I sure do, and I guess that was my first one. It was over in the Scaffold Cane area of Rockcastle County.
So that was in '66.
That's 66, yes.
Okay.
That's when I went to auction school in 65, and I got my auction license in 68. 66, I'm sorry. And my real estate license in 68. So I've been around doing this for a while.
So I guess that would be your 61 years then.
That's about right.
You left for a little while. Tell us a little bit about your service. You started I
was in the U.S. Army Signal Corps, and I'd gone through ROTC, got commissioned, and went to the Army just as soon as I graduated from college. And I went to my first tour of duty was at Augusta, Georgia, at Fort Gordon for my AIT training. And I was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma for a short time, and then back to Fort Gordon. And then I left in 1968 or 1969. I left for Thailand during the Vietnam War. I served in Thailand with an engineer battalion, was building a road. Thankful I wasn't in any grave danger, but I was in the jungles. I got out over there in 1970. I'd started the auction business, of course, prior to that. I hadn't done many auctions, but I was doing some. Got a job at a little auction barn out on Highway 461, Mr. Noah Pointer. And I got paid $15 a night. And of course, I was married with a child, and that $15 looked pretty good, at that time. And people, I guess, supported me. I met a lot of friends there. I still think of some of the people I met there at that time, and they're still friends with today, those that are living. But that's how it goes. My plan was to go to law school, and but after I got out of the Army and started doing some auctions, hey, this is what I really love, and I'm going to hang with it.
That's pretty cool. I guess I'm a little partial to the serviceman, maybe a little more than I was in the past. My son, my eldest, he just signed up this past weekend to sign up for the U.S. Air Force. So exciting, a little nerve-wracking, for a parent. Rebecca's handling it pretty well, though. Yeah, she's doing good with it. But pretty cool that you what did you learn maybe from service that you've been able to bring into the auction business?
Well, one thing you learn in service, you learn some leadership qualities. Number two, you learn how to get along with people. Everybody, we all don't think alike. We're not alike, and so you learn how to cooperate and get along with people. And Brian will do well in the Air Force. I wish he'd gone to the Army, but he'll do well in the Air Force.
I remember some of your instruction, and I assume maybe you got this from the military. One time I was helping set up an auction, and you stopped the workers, and 3 or 4 of us there, and he said, now boys, this is how it is. There's the right way, there's the wrong way, and there's my way.
Yeah.
And if you're going to work for me, you're going to do it my way. And so I assume, was that maybe a little military-ish?
That is correct. We're told that in the military, the Army, the right way, the wrong way, and the Army way. And we do it the Army way. So I guess that kind of led off to me, and that's the reason I hope I didn't chew you out too bad that day.
There's been a time or two, but yeah, it was okay.
You probably needed it.
I'm sure I did. So Dad, he got out of school somewhere around 70, right? 1970. So whenever you came back from the military, how did you all sort of figure out being
partners?
Yeah.
Well, we'd never discussed it. We hadn't planned on it, but he decided to go to auction school as well. We went to auction school up in Indiana. I went during my freshman and sophomore year of college, and I'm not sure when Danny went, but I think it's about 1972. when
71, 72, I think.
he,
Right?
72 when he joined me, and we became partners and have been ever since.
Did you ever have a vision of like, here's what I want the auction real estate business to look like? What was your vision back then, and has it done that? Has it done more than that? What were your dreams?
My dream was to have a regional auction company. I had no desire to, as some auctioneers do, and each his own. I had no desire to travel all over the country doing auctions. I wanted to do auctions in probably 100-mile radius of my hometown. My hometown's Mount Vernon. We're located in several towns now, but that's where that's the flagship office we started, and that was my dream to do that. And thankfully, we've been blessed, and that dream has been fulfilled, and it's been fulfilled with your and Devin's arrival and this group of young auctioneers that we have with us. We got a great group of young auctioneers that follow the Ford Brothers formula, and they want successful auctions, and we've done that. Thankful for that.
From the beginning all the way up to now, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the auction industry?
Well, the biggest changes are in technology. Who would have dreamed 20 years ago we'd be doing auctions online? And as you know, I was not a strong proponent of doing that. I let you and Devin, some of the other, Jeff Cromer, some of the other younger auctioneers that work with us, talk me into it. That's the biggest change. I never dreamed we'd do that. If we do 50 or 60 auctions a year, I thought we were doing pretty well, and now we average around 300 a year, and a lot of it's because of the online presence. So that is one of the biggest changes. Another change is clerking. We'd write out the items and then take them into the cashier. Now we do the clerking online, and as soon as it's items bought, they can go pay for it. Then they don't have to wait. Those are advertising. We relied heavily early on newspaper, sale brochures, radio, and we still rely on them too, but now it's more internet, and we have an internet presence, and we've been fortunate. Our little company here in Kentucky, we belong to a group of auctioneers called MarkNet Alliance, and we were last year number 2 in internet contacts, number 2 in the nation. So it's worked well for us.
Those are some of the big changes. If there's an element of the business that's still the same, what element of the business would you say is, I was doing this in 65 or 75, but it's still the same today?
Well, the live auctions out on the property, whether it be real estate, personal property, farm machinery, or a combination thereof of all of them, it's still the same. It's a people business, and we make the contacts, and you're out there with as we say, out amongst, and that's not changed. It's still strong.
So this is not on my little sheet here, so I'm going to throw you a curveball here, okay?
Throw it to me.
All right. So I want to think it was in 1983. You were the president of the National Auctioneers Association. Tell me about that, maybe some of the relationships you built through that, maybe just tell me a little bit about that process.
It was 1985. I served as president of the National Association in 1984 and 85. Made some wonderful friends, and if anyone that's getting into the business, they need to belong to the state and national auctioneers associations. But during that time, I was in 38 different states when I was the president. Catch a flight out and go and speak and be back. Most of the talks I gave were on selling real estate at auction. But I made lifelong friends. I'm still in contact with a lot of those people. And if there's something comes up that I don't know how to do or don't have expertise in, I know who to call. And I remember a few years ago, David had met someone that they sold nurseries, and So he got us. I think they were in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm not sure now, but he called him and said, "Hey, what do I need to do to sell this nursery?" And he told him, and we had a successful auction at that time. It's been several years ago, but we've sold nurseries since. But that's you make contacts, and you learn who to contact if you come up against an auction that you don't know. As we say in Kentucky, you don't know beans about. You get someone to help you.
Yeah. When I think about the National Auctioneers Association, I think a lot about some of the people that are maybe not even here anymore that, I looked up to as a hero. I think of Hack Ayers and Steve Lewis and some of those people. Many of those were not only mentors to you, but really close personal friends. And
they're very close. My hero in the auction profession, J.L. Todd out of Rome, Georgia. J.L. Todd, man of huge stature. He was probably 6'6", and here I am, a little guy about 5'9". We hit it off. He loved me and I loved him. He was one of the most giving men that I've ever met. He not a selfish bone in his body. And he loved to help people. And if I could be like anybody in the profession, it would be J.L. Todd. You mentioned Hack Ayers down in La Follette, Tennessee. Amos Whitmer from Montgomery, Indiana. Bruce Harrell. Most of those now are all gone. Bruce Harrell of Morristown, Tennessee. We were Gene Dunnington from down in Monticello, Kentucky. We were all the best of friends. We'd visit each other's houses. We'd have meals with each other. We all done some auctions with each other.
That's great. Yeah, it's cool, because I'm getting ready to go to CAI next, and that's where all the past CAI members can come, and I think there's about 75 people, and so it's the 50th year of CAI, and they're having this big celebration.
Right.
Pretty neat stuff. Now, you were one of the early on classes, right?
I was 1981. You might let people know what the CAI is.
Yeah, it's the Certified Auctioneers Institute. It's held at
Indiana University.
Indiana University every spring. And so that's coming up, I think, maybe next week when I head there. But basically, there's training. It's the biggest and I guess the best training that you can get. I know Tyler was filling out some paperwork for that, and our company's had 12 people attend CAI that are still currently active. So that's a pretty cool thing.
Well, that's one thing we've always encouraged is education. We've all taken advantage of it. I say we, the owners, and now our other auctioneers, our associates, they're following in line and doing the same thing, because if you want to be the best that you can be and give the best service that you could get, you need to go to that course.
Let's change subject a little bit again here. When did you sort of say this auction business, I think I can, did it just happen immediately, or did it take you a few years to be like, all right, I'm past this and I've got my feet on the ground? When did you feel, or do you feel now? There's some days I'm sure I wonder whether I've got my feet on the ground, but
well, if you're a business owner, there's always good days and bad days, and I guess probably in the early 80s, when you're getting started, in this business, people don't have confidence in you, and it takes years to build that confidence. And so, early on, do I want to continue doing this? And then one day, in fact, I was so upset one day, I called my brother Danny. I said, would you want to buy me out? And he said, what are you talking about? I said, well, I'm so disgusted. He said, well, let me ask you something. I said, what else can you do? I got to thinking about that. He said, you've got a business degree, but said they're a dime a dozen, and you've got a farm, but you're too lazy to farm. I said, what else can you do? And I said, well, since you put it that way, I think I'll just hang on and see what happens.
So it's good that you had a brother that was somewhat,
Yeah,
he knew how to push your buttons, didn't he?
well, we're sounding boards for each other.
Yes. Do you think there was a real turning point in the auction business? Like, you said 80s or something, but was there a particular auction, or was it just like finally we're making it work?
Well, we had there's a couple auctions in particular that I think probably propelled us into the forefront. One is we sold 1,100 acres farm for the Ford Brothers down in Lincoln County, down near Crab Orchard, and we divided farms up. They were several different farmers to make that conglomerate of 1,100 acres. That helps us a lot. Another auction that gave us a lot of publicity, I guess, to get going was selling the Saltpeter Cave that belonged to Mr. John Lyer, the founder of Renfro Valley.
Now that made national news, didn't it?
That made right. It was on NBC National News, and so that helped. I guess to propel us to some extra success that we may not have had, but people believing in us, trusting us, and there's nothing better than that.
So, did you ever have an auction, and maybe like this was maybe the funniest or craziest moment you've ever had, just like off the wall, happen at an auction?
Well, we've had a lot of funny things. We had an auction once that husband and wife bidding against each other, and one of them's on one side of the tent and the chairs, and one's on the other side. And this particular item, I can't remember what the item was now, but they were both bidding on it. And I told them that, and I said, you can take a husband and wife here and have a heck of a sale. But I said, I'm going to tell you, y'all bid against each other, but now I'm not going to tell you again. If y'all continue on, you're on your own. We've had some many trying experiences, and I can remember having a guy who's quite inebriated came and wanted to bid, kind of making a scene. Well, we can't take a bid from a guy that's intoxicated, or we shouldn't put it like that. So I sent one of our people back to babysit him while we went on with the auction, and so we've had those are just a couple that come to my mind, but it's a gratifying business. We solve a lot of problems for people, and we enjoy doing that. It's been very good to us.
Anything, I guess, what's your maybe proudest thing that's happened since you've been in business? Man, I can look back and I'm happy I done that.
Well, I guess the proudest thing that's happened is when you and Devin and some of these other younger guys that are taking hold and going on and taking the business, I think, to the next level that Danny and I hadn't taken it to. And I swell with pride in thinking about that. That's been very satisfying. If you're a teacher and see one of your students do well, you can take pride in that. And so that's probably the thing I've taken pride in.
So in the auction business, does anything ever go wrong?
Well, does anything ever go wrong? I shouldn't say this, Hugh. That's the dumbest question I believe you could ever have asked.
Jacob wrote that for me.
Okay, Jacob. Okay. Things go wrong all the time, but you have to work through them and make the best of it and try to come to some kind of a satisfactory conclusion. And we do that. I tell auctioneers are problem solvers.
So again, this is not all about auctions. We're going to have some people in and talk about, farming and different things. But one thing that is really important in Kentucky is basketball. And so we just ended our season. We lost the second round. So there's a lot of chatter right now about Coach Pope. What's your thoughts?
What's my thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, I doubt if anybody would care what my thoughts are.
But, you were probably a 5'9" point guard, right?
Yeah. But a bench warmer.
Yes. Clayton Cash, he said, Matt, you've got the most heart. He said, but you can't shoot. He was like, you're the worst shooter ever. And so I guess that was true.
I'm a supporter of Coach Pope. I think they need to give him, I think he's the kind of guy, as far as morals and his attitude and all, he's the kind of guy that I would want to coach my kid. And I'm not from, he's been there 2 years. He came with nothing. And we didn't have a successful season according to the Big Blue Nation, but it was a successful season. And I hope that I hope people will get off harping about him and give him another chance. I think he'll pull it out.
I think the guy's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
I'm excited about next year. I'm hoping there's not injuries, some of that kind of stuff. But I've got to give the guy a lot of grace. I think he's a good man from what I know.
And that's the reason that I'm pulling for him. So because he is a good man, he's a man of character and a compassionate man. And
now we expect him to win too. I mean,
we do expect him. I like to, when we win and we play some of my other auctioneer friends' teams in other states, I always like to call them and
let them know. Yeah, JJ loves it when I text him about Tennessee and us. We beat them twice this year, so that's.
The late Amos Whitmer from Indiana, he was a big IU fan, and that's back during the Bobby Knight and Joe B. Hall days. And if we won, first thing I'd do is call Amos and let him know, and then he would do the same thing if Indiana won.
Advice: if you were going to start a brand new auction business, say you are instead of 68, you're planning on starting a business in what'd that be, 28 in a couple of years. Say some young person is, hey, I'm getting ready. I want to dive into this business. What kind of advice would you give them today?
Well, 2 or 3 things. Number one, get involved in your community, tell the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts. Someone's have greater expectations on their item or their property than it's going to do. Have the intestinal fortitude, be upfront with them and tell them that. I guess what I'm trying to say, if you can under-promise and over-deliver, you'll be successful. I heard an old gentleman from Texas who had very little education, but he became a wealthy man because he owned some land that had oil wells. So he was so successful in that way that the University of Texas Business School called him in to talk to one of the business classes. And he said, I don't have even a high school education, but said, let me tell you how to be successful. Do everything you promise and then some. And I think that is pretty good advice for a young person starting as an auctioneer or even in business. Do everything you promise and then some.
So tell me a little bit. So I think a lot of people know you, but tell us a little bit about, so Aunt Judy, she worked in the business for many years. Now, how long have you all been together?
We will have been married 60 years, June 16th of this year. She knew what a good catch she got, and she wasn't going to. No, she's been a real supporter.
Yeah.
She was our cashier for many years and the bookkeeper for our company until it started spreading out a little bit. And she'd always told me if our kids come back to home and they have kids, I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna take care of my grandkids. And I didn't think she would. She loved to work in auction and doing, because she did enjoy, but she loved the grandchildren more. So she quit. That's been several years now, and she hardly ever even goes to an auction with anymore. But I couldn't have made it without her. She's been a biggest supporter and my partner.
And you got 3 kiddos, right?
3, yeah.
And tell us about each of them a little bit.
Well, Devin, the oldest son, he's in business with us, and he is an auctioneer and a realtor, and he's got 3 daughters, and now he's got 2 granddaughters and 1 grandson. So I got 2 great granddaughters and 1 great grandson. So he's the oldest. His wife is in education. She's been a principal. She's been a teacher and kind of a coach now. I don't know her title, but and then John, my second son, he's an attorney.
So he took what you wanted to do, and he's actually done it.
He followed through what I always said I wanted to do, right? And he has 3 children. He's got 2 boys and a girl, and his wife is in education. She's a speech pathologist, and she works in the school system.
Somebody mentioned they like golf.
Oh, my oldest, or my middle son, John, he hates for work to get involved with his golf. But his son is quite, if you permit me, I'll brag on him a little bit, when he was 9 years old, he won the drive, chip, and putt at Augusta National Golf Course. So the Golf Channel came here, spent 2 or 3 days here, him driving a tractor, feeding the cattle, and that kind of thing. It was a good time. The other 2 kids are good golfers too. They one of them is a volleyball. She plays volleyball, and the girl and the youngest boy, Cooper, he plays basketball and golf. And so then my daughter,
She's sort of the baby, and she sort of got you here, right?
no, she's not the baby. Cooper's the baby. Well, to be honest with you, all of them has got me right there. If you know the truth. But they're special. And then Amy, my daughter, she's a counselor at the high school, and she taught math for many years, and she got a master's in counseling, and so she's a counselor at high school. And she has 2 daughters. Her oldest daughter's Madeline, we call her Maddie. She is going to Morehead State in Morehead, Kentucky, and loves it. She loves that school. And she's getting a degree. I don't know that in radiology. I don't know the actual title of what she's done. And Sophie, she's the youngest daughter, and she is a freshman in high school. And she loves volleyball, and now she's taking up golf. Her cousins have talked her into playing golf, so now she's playing golf. And they're all sweet kids, as grandkids are.
Yep. So it's easy to brag on all them, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This next question, I may have just answered it. What kept you going through all the years, there might be a bad day or a rough day, but what kept you going in the auction industry?
I always thought that there's a better day ahead. You're gonna have some bad days. That's life. Everything's not peachy and rosy. There's gonna be days that you feel like giving up and quitting. But you gotta continue on. And I always thought, well, if I lost a sale, one I thought I should get, and a competitor got it, I'd get kind of depressed about it. But then a day or 2 later, something would come along that would be as good or better than that one, and so I just look for the next one. Yeah. I think that's kept me going.
So, I know you don't like talking about this. You've had a few little health issues in the last 2 months, haven't you?
Yeah, I have had, but I'm on the mend.
Well, that's what when I go out, everybody always asks, well, "How's Sam doing? How's your dad doing? But I'm glad that you're a whole lot better than you were 2 or 3 months ago, aren't you?
Oh yeah. I spent a month at Cardinal Hill Rehab, and I've been to Central Baptist, been to Rockcastle, but I was having trouble walking. I was on a walker until yesterday. I graduated from the walker, and now I'm on my cane.
All right.
And I'm getting around and driving. I couldn't drive, and
that's a little dangerous, even before you were having trouble.
That's what I've heard. But my wife, Judy, was having to drive me everywhere, and I think I was wearing her out. So it's good to get back to where I can drive now. Yeah, but I'm doing good.
Good. All right. If you were an investor, so a buyer coming in, and you've been around real estate and real estate auctions for ever and a day, what would you recommend them investing in?
Land.
Farmland, just commercial land? What kind of land?
Actually, the way it is now, most any type of land. I like something John D. Rockefeller said once. He's pretty good when take financial advice from, and his comment was, buy on the fringe and wait.
Mm-hmm.
Buy on the fringe and wait. In other words, when we move towards you, you'll be in the driver's seat then to sell and get a nice return on your investment. But land, houses, buying a house is a big undertaking, and but I think young people need to invest in real estate. Over the years, it's probably going to yield a better return than most anything you could invest in.
Anything that we've not discussed that you're like, oh yeah, well, I really wanted to talk about that. I know I did not follow our list at all, Jacob, but was there anything on that list that you're like, you know what, I want to talk about that?
You've asked me about everything in the world.
I have.
You have. And I've enjoyed this conversation. I enjoy talking about my family, and I always enjoy talking about auctions. They're two of my passions. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say I would advise people to be involved with the Lord and have a relationship with Christ. That'd be my advice.
Yep, great advice. One of the things that when we bring these auctioneers on, something that we really would like to hear is you chant a little bit. You think you could rattle something off for us?
I'll try. It's been so long. I've not tried an auction several months now.
Yeah.
But I'll see what I can do. Okay.
All right.
And now you've told me 4 times this is the last question. Is this the last question?
I want to say this is the last question.
Okay.
Yeah, we're at least getting near the end.
All right. All right, here we go, folks. Hand me $1 for it. $25, $30, bid now $5, $35, $40, $40. Now $5, $45, $50, now $5. Sold $50. Jake.
You got it down still.
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it sounded pretty daggone good.
Yeah, I didn't think it did, but that's okay.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty smooth. So, Uncle Sam, thank you for coming on here. I think this will be one of the best podcasts we can do. I mean, we talk about selling the country, and maybe it's not the country as in the United States, but we're selling the country, and it's been good. And your leadership, your experiences that you've been able to share with me, Devin, our staff, it's big. So thank you. And maybe I'll come up with a few more questions before we end this podcast. We might get you back on here 2 or 3 more times. Is that okay?
It'll be fine. I've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Talk to y'all soon. We'll see you at the next Selling the Country podcast.